Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today is a special episode, maybe even, I don't know, Brad, a commemorative episode. I don't know. We're celebrating the launch of our very first audiobook as a company. This has been a long, long time coming. It's our best of series. So think of it, if we were musicians, this would be, I don't know, greatest hits, but we're not. So it's our best of series. For all of the books, we published over 400 authors and we curated some of the top authors in that collection and we put them all together. And they were game enough to want to read their chapters and participate in the creative and construction process. So that's what we're here celebrating today. So I brought one of the authors back onto the show. Brad's been a guest multiple times. So Brad Weber, for those that you do not know him, he's president and CEO over at Inspiring Apps. Brad, I know that's the longest intro you've ever. I'm not usually that long, but hey, welcome back, man. It's good to see your face.
Thanks, Adam. It's great to be back.
So Brad, we're going to get into, of course, your content in the book, the audio book. I'm curious to hear how the recording process was for you, because that's always interesting. But before we do all that, you and our guests and our audience all know we start this episode with what we call our Mission Matters Minute. So, Brad, at Mission Matters, our aim is to amplify stories and to get them out there for business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives. So that's what we do. Brad, what mission matters to you?
I'm passionate about helping brands connect with their customers by designing and building digital products those customers love.
Yeah. Love it. Well, great to have you back on. And just to jump right in here, celebrating recording the audiobook. I know one of the engineers that worked on the book, he's actually doing the controls in the background. So it's okay. Jai, close your ears. Brad, what was it like recording your audio, your portion of the audiobook?
It was fantastic. And actually, I'll go back to your opener, inviting others who want to
Hmm.
be a guest on your show to endorse you and say that Adam, you and your team have been totally professional and great to work with through the book and the
Hmm.
audiobook process. So
Ah,
can't say enough good things. It was really nice to connect with some other authors along the way as well.
yeah.
But it was great. And honestly, the audiobook was easier to record, produce than I expected.
Yeah. Isn't it fun to finally hear it and the end product and then you get to hear all the voices the first time I listened to it. And for everybody that's watching this, just so you know, so the audio book it's made up of about 15 different chapters and each one has the author is reading their own story. So think about it as every chapter you listen to, you get to hear from the author, with the exception of one that I recorded for them. But other than that, all of the authors read their story. So to me, it's kind of like this surreal experience because, of course, I've interviewed you and I've talked to all of the authors before, but it's like almost like a collection of friends because I know everybody and I've obviously worked with everybody. What was it like for you, like going through and hearing all of the different stories and hearing it from their voice?
Yeah, it was nice. For that same reason, I have not had the pleasure of speaking with everyone
Mhm.
that I co-authored with. So it was fun to hear their passion in telling their stories as well.
Yeah. It's different. To me, it was different. I was like, just as a work and a creative work, it was like normally one person reads the whole book or this or that, or maybe even sections, but to see like each one be something different and to hear their passion for what they, what their particular story was, I thought it's unique, a unique work in the marketplace. And I hope that many, many people go out and grab it because I think it's worth listening to. That's why we made it. So I want to maybe take a couple steps back for maybe some of our new listeners here, Brad, that maybe haven't caught some of our previous work together. So maybe just talk a little bit more about Inspiring Apps, what you do, and kind of how you got started there, just to set the tone before we get into some of the content that you submitted.
Sure. Yeah. By way of background, Inspiring Apps creates digital products for companies. We develop custom digital products for
Mm,
enterprises and funded startups across a really wide variety of industries. Lately, that has been a heavy emphasis in financial services and
mm,
medical, but lots of innovation happening really across the market. Has been really fun for us to work.
mm,
You talk about starting it. So I had my start after my master's program at a large consulting firm, one of the global, what they called the big six at the time. I don't know how many
Right.
are left now. And while I learned things for sure, I realized most importantly that that was not the environment for me to thrive in. And
Mm.
I ventured out on my own after a few years in that environment and had a number of experiences starting my own thing, developing software for small businesses while I tried to build up a client base, not having quite enough clients, taking
Hmm.
a job for a little while, going back to trying to build my own business.
The
Uh,
entrepreneurial journey, you
yeah,
gotta love
exactly.
it.
A series of those until I found something that worked and did so independently for about a dozen years before I
Mm.
founded Inspiring Apps. And now we're in our 17th year
Wow.
and have built an all US based team
Yeah.
that designs, develops, tests a wide variety of products, as I mentioned.
Mm. What I love to get a work in a pay it forward question when I can, and I think I got my opening here, Brad. What kept you like strong during those times when it's going up and down? Like what kept you moving forward?
Oh my goodness. It was easier in some respects when I was on my own. There
Yeah.
were just fewer moving parts. And honestly, I think that having that success on
Mhm.
my own is what really helped me once I started to grow a team. As
Mm.
as things got challenging, I needed to hear my inner voice saying, "You've done this before.
Yeah.
You know how to push this forward. You know how to succeed." And that, along with having a great team to support me through this, has really led to the success that we've enjoyed.
So going a little bit further into what you're doing right now, I know since we last spoke, I mean, you're my guy when it comes to this apps, anything like this, just period. Like I'm like, okay, Brad, like what should I be thinking about? I'm hearing all this noise. All I'm hearing right now is AI, AI, AI. What have you been, what kind of conversations have you been having since we last spoke?
It is part of almost every project
Yeah.
conversation that we're having now, for sure.
Hmm.
And having done this for as long as I have, it reminds me of some other trends that I'm sure your viewers will be familiar with. But there was a time in my business past where everybody needed a website,
Hmm.
and that was the craze. And then when the
Hold
iPhone,
on, you got to pause there for a second. Like that's for some of our younger audience, they're gonna be like, "That was the craze you needed." We got to at least laugh at this. And yes, I was around for that craze too, or a .com. Anything that had .com on it was gonna be an amazing investment.
yeah, exactly.
Go
Yeah,
ahead, please. I just had to pause for that one so that our younger listeners would get it. Yes, that was a craze. You need a website.
yes, I appreciate you calling that out, Adam. I'm sure there are a number of people who just decided to tune out the old guy.
Oh, no, I was there too. They better not tune out. Go.
But after that, in it was 2007 when the iPhone was introduced.
Mm.
There was another
Oh,
wave.
that was a great craze. I think I was too busy working at that point to understand what was going on, like actually working. I just graduated college, so I was busy doing that to have the time to, but that was a great craze. I'm like, what are all
Yeah,
these lines about? What's all this other stuff going on? What
yeah,
sold out phone? Who cares? That was amazing.
yeah. So during that time, and it's tempered somewhat, but
Mhm.
there were definitely years in there where every business felt like they needed an app. They needed a mobile app
Yeah.
to be relevant, just like the web before. And I
Mm.
see some commonality with the AI craze that's happening now. It's fabulous. I mean, much like
Mhm.
the introduction of the iPhone and the Android platform to
Yeah.
follow. Uh, it's going to impact our lives in really meaningful ways. But
Mhm.
what I recommend to businesses who are getting caught up in the frenzy is to
Mm.
really focus, as you do for all things like this, on what problem is it that you're trying to solve.
Mm.
What is the challenge specifically? And then we have loads of tools in our toolbox. AI is a big one right now. It's kind of a
Mhm.
sledgehammer at the moment, but there are a lot of tools in the toolbox to
Mm.
solve a variety of business problems with a digital product. And
Mhm.
that's just one way that we can help either
Yeah.
save people time, improve the quality of whatever it is that they're producing,
Mhm.
maybe offer suggestions or slice and dice data in ways
Yeah.
that they hadn't considered before. Those are all some of the benefits of AI, but it really needs to be serving a specific purpose.
Hmm.
And don't just jump on the AI bandwagon because you see your competitors doing it and feel like you have
Yeah.
to do something.
What excites you about AI right now? Like you mentioned it having the ability to help us or to progress us. Like what excites you about it right now? It could be technology, could be how it's helping business. I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like it could be something for just for fun. I don't know. What excites you about AI right now?
It is phenomenal and honestly amazing, even as somebody
Mm.
like me who's been in the industry for so long, to see how rapidly it's advancing.
Yeah.
It seems like not long ago we were kind of wowed by the fact that you could point your camera at a piece of fruit and it would know the difference between an apple and a banana. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's great. And now it's writing entire articles for us.
Yeah.
It is categorizing data in unique ways, as I
Yeah.
mentioned before. It's pretty impressive. And what's happening with mixed media now, with
Mhm.
photos and videos coming into the mix as well. It's not just working with text, but being
Yeah.
able to generate original, quote unquote,
Yeah.
derived original video content or photo content from from prompts that we give it
Mhm.
is pretty cool. It's fun to think about how we might apply that for business purposes.
And to me, it's interesting to see how fast it's moving.
Yeah.
Like even how like, some of the original written content, I don't even have to get into the video because that's moving too. The like all of it, generative, anything, like it's just moving so fast and getting so much better. It changes my concept of 5-year planning. I feel like anybody that's in a creative field that I mean in the past, like how do you even build a studio and plan for your studio in terms of 5 years now? I don't
Right.
feel like you can go more than two because by the time, even in investments in large amounts of equipment or things, I'll give you an example, and this might be a bad one, is they say that AI is not replacing jobs or this or that. Well, I can tell you one very specific one where I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And that is one of these conferences that we covered recently. And this person still works for us. So I'm not saying it's replaced their job, by the way. I'm not saying that, but it did replace the need for an entire person at a conference for us when we're shooting. Why? Because I bought last minute, the person couldn't come, and I
Mhm.
bought an AI camera. And it was phenomenal. And I was like, wow, like this is like, I mean, it did exactly what we needed it to do, put it that way, for the size of production and other things. So that was the first one that directly, I would say, affected Mission Matters, our business in terms of like production, like outwardly, where it was an actual
Yep.
person. Everything else we've added before, whether it's like, increasing the quality of a video, increasing the quality, that's all just been adding a layer. Nothing until that moment was there, like it was more like a fork in the road versus adding a layer of improvement. And I was like, wow, how does somebody even plan for 5 years now?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I agree with you. There's a lot of talk about this not taking jobs, not replacing people. There
Yeah.
will absolutely be jobs that go away as a result of this,
Yeah.
even if it means that we're making the existing team more
Hmm.
productive and don't need to hire somebody. It might not be that
Yeah.
someone gets fired because
Yeah.
AI took their
And
job.
that's been our experience, just to throw that out there. Like
Yeah,
not trying to be politically correct, but I'm just letting people know that's been our experience,
yeah,
is that now we're able to do more with, I won't say less, but with higher skilled individuals that have been trained on better tools. Every
yeah,
employer wants to enable individuals in their employee to feel, needed, wanted, invested in when it comes to training and otherwise. So it's a greater work environment, in my opinion. Go ahead. I just wanted to throw that out there to clarify, just in case somebody thought nobody lost their job. It's okay.
yeah, yeah. Totally agree. And regarding the speed,
Mm,
ChatGPT or OpenAI had been doing their work for years behind the
yeah.
scenes. It really came into its own last spring, kind of early spring. And I was fortunate to attend a Microsoft event in New York where they were demoing the capabilities at the time, and it was
Mm,
impressive. Even then, there were some things that got my attention, and I was kind of excited about it.
hmm.
In November, I got an update on where things had gotten just in 6 months, and again was shocked at the progress that was made. And
Yeah.
then for those people who follow this in the industry, Google had their developer conference this week and
Mm,
announced things again. We're now like 6 months after that, and some of the things that they're adding to their platform, I wouldn't have imagined a year ago sitting in that Microsoft office would have been possible now. So it's an impressive pace of innovation. It's pretty cool.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's fun. I think it's a fun space. I think it's. I tell people I just think they should just get involved. Like get
Yeah.
involved, understand, know, especially for a bit. I mean, two different sides of this. In your personal life, whatever, do what you want. But in your business life, like you can. I'll give you one that you may or may not know about, Brad. And this changed our complete business. Like literally, not. I shouldn't say it wasn't a big part of our business, but we had Amazon released a update to their publishing platform. And no, I'm not an affiliate, I don't get paid for this, anybody that's listening, but they essentially did it to where you can now use an AI voice integrated in their platform, though there are plenty of them, to record audiobooks now.
Mm,
So it's like wow, like so we did one of our books, not one of my books that I wrote, so Driven. I was considering, okay, am I going to read this, am I going to go in studio, am I do all this? I get an email to be a part of their beta. I click the button and I swear it was within 10 minutes there was an audio book already published for that book, AI voice, that was pretty dang good. Like I was like, it's business content, I'm not an actor, what was I going to do? I don't know how much I don't know, like all self like assessment, and like I don't know, the AI might have read it better than me, Brad. I'm not that
yep.
good at that. So like so now you think about that entire industry. If you were a voiceover actor, if you were like, at least for audiobooks, I'm talking about specifically for
Right.
audiobooks, like that, a studio, like anything else, if you were doing 20 audiobooks, 50 audiobooks a year in your studio, people were coming in, recording, whatever. Now, who knows? Maybe that's a quarter of that or whatever the amount is. But some people are definitely going to choose the alternative to just, click a button and be done with it in 5 minutes versus going in studio and doing the other side of it. So I'm like, I'm just amazed at how quickly everything is shifting, and I can't believe it's already only been a year with this whole chat GPT thing. I feel like
Right.
it's been in my life for a decade. I
Right.
feel like.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine what next year will hold.
Oh, well, I'm gonna bring you back, and I'm be like, Brad, what else should I be thinking about? I wanna jump around a bit here. I
Sure.
want to go a little bit further into the book. Everybody, I definitely want you to pick up a copy for sure. The audiobook is live and out there, so you can hear Brad actually reading his chapter and reading his work. But the title of your section was Meet Business Challenges and Build an Inspiring Business. And you go through things on your journey and kind of lay those out for people. I think it's a great entrepreneurial story. And I think you also, what I like about it too, is you don't sugarcoat it. Like it's not all fun and games, right? Why did you choose this topic? Like a lot of different things you could have written about, a lot of different angles. Like, why did you choose to present this?
Yeah, I think your last comment about it not all being a bed of roses, so to speak,
Hmm.
it was important to me. I learn from the mistakes and trials of others. I don't. Sometimes it's easier to
Yeah.
hear those lessons and apply them and avoid those
Hmm.
problems in your own life than it is to hear someone's perfect path and think about how you're gonna stick to that, because it's not going to happen. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be things that throw you off your journey, your intended route,
Hmm.
and I think it's valuable for me to hear how other people have dealt with adversity. And so I wanted to
Mm.
share some of what I walked through in my process, and hopefully that'll benefit someone else in a similar way.
Yeah. So a lot of different things you wrote about. So growing a company fraught with risk, cultivating a winning culture requires an employee-based team. A flat organizational structure will only take you so far. So a lot of different nuggets you gave in your journey. The one that I want to talk about today, and the one that I want to pick out though, is create cool stuff for clients or build a real business.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that, Brad.
Yeah, so this evolves a little bit if we go back to the
Yep.
story of my journey that I shared, where I was working independently, and what I enjoyed was making cool stuff, and it was fun to demo not only for the client that I was working with at the time, but share it with
Yeah.
friends and others that help generate more business.
Mm.
And as I founded Inspiring Apps, I carried those habits and kind of those practices along with me in the
Mhm.
new business. And as I was trying to grow a team, that worked for a while,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a sustainable business strategy.
Yeah.
And so the message in that section that you're referring to is that there really are valuable business lessons to be taken, not just from other technology companies, but across industry,
Hmm.
where it is extremely valuable to have a leadership team, for instance, to support me
Hmm.
and for them to focus on parts of the business that are blind spots for me or not necessarily my
Hmm.
strengths. And this touches a bit on another section that you had talked
Yeah.
about growing the organization, but having team leads to be a point person for our technology teams, our developers specifically, who are really thinking about best practices in their area of focus. Those
Mhm.
are things that are critical to building something that's sustainable longer term.
Yeah.
We still build cool things. That's just not the business strategy.
Yeah, and what's I'll tell you, this is such a I feel all business owners kind of make these trade-offs. They just don't word it that well, like build cool things. Like everybody wants to serve their company or their clients, their every and now with AI, I mean, this is a funny part is I didn't even mean to tie that into the to the book, but when you think about like all the new toys there are out there for people to start, exploring with and doing, and even if it is a new technology or a new thing, I like your
Yeah,
process of thinking, okay, well, who's going to lead that project, right? Like, are you just going to, just because you were able to get a new piece of software, a new thing, or otherwise, how are you going to implement that? Like, what's going to be the tracking? Does it make sense for your business? Does it add to whatever the objective was that you thought it was going to do, or is it just going to be cool?
right.
I'll use and should it be? I'll use one example that we come across pretty often. Speaking of AI, it's like, oh, now everybody can spend $30 and make a million pieces of content constantly and put it out there with a click of a button. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but not quite. So now for a business to think about, okay, like does that actually solve your branding presence or your
Right.
presence in the marketplace, assuming that's what you're going after, or does that actually help your reach? Or are you actually taking away from your brand by putting out a bunch of things that weren't really well thought out? And now
Yeah.
it's going to be really hard to clean those up. So it's this constant, I feel, trade-off of what you're doing like publicly, obviously, and what you're doing to build, but then also what you're doing internally, how you're designing those processes. In the case of what you talk about, as you mentioned again in one of the previous side, is like the organizational structure and like what's next with that and how that develops.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of the way you laid this out because it really does give an overview, and it gives some really good milestones and touch points, if you will, for people to kind of reassess after you read it, or in this case listen to it in the audiobook and go back and say, do I need to revisit that in my organization or in my situation? So I know there's a lot of different takeaways and nuggets here, but if you had to narrow it down to one, what do you hope your readers will walk away with from this experience and from reading your work? What do you hope they'll walk away with?
There's a lot in there, as you had
Mhm.
mentioned. I think we've touched on some of them. I'll bring up a new topic that I think is really been extremely valuable for me
Mm,
is the importance of company culture and
mm,
how for us, I tried to build a team of contractors in the early days,
yeah,
and that it is challenging for many reasons, but one of the areas where it's particularly challenging is to establish a company culture. Because if
yeah,
you've got contractors who are coming and going pretty frequently over time, there's nothing to really, there's not a common thread that's running through your projects, running through the
yeah.
people that stay. And having employees on our team now exclusively has really made a huge difference for us.
Mm.
And we just celebrated somebody's 14th year at
Wow.
Inspiring Apps this week, and we've got another 14-year anniversary coming
Wow.
up next month.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
there are a
great.
lot of people who've been with us for 5, 10 years or more, and
Wow.
I think it's a differentiator for us. Not only is it really a pleasure to work with people that you get to know over that period of time,
Yeah.
but there's so much institutional knowledge that stays in the company from
Mhm.
project to project that benefits our clients as well. It's been incredibly valuable.
Wow. It's amazing. Well, Brad, really want to thank you again for participating in this most recent release of our Best of Series, Volume 1 of Mission Matters. So, really excited about it. For everybody that's watching, we're going to put some links in the show notes so that you can click on the links and just head right on over and pick up a copy. But, Brad, if somebody wants to connect with you and your team and they want to talk more about what you're up to over at Inspiring Apps, how do they do that?
Our website, certainly inspiringapps.com, and we're fairly active on LinkedIn as well. And you can find us there. It's Inspiring Apps.
Perfect. And for everybody watching, we'll also put those links in the show notes so that you can head right on over to Inspiring Apps. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters, this is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new thought leaders, new episodes. If that's something that you're interested in, hit that subscribe button. We welcome you to so you don't miss any of the upcoming thought leaders and experts. And Brad, thank you again so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks, Adam.